Welcome back, and we are still all balls racing with the Honda. Yes, we are still measuring, but not balls. And yes, I'm still wearing the same t-shirt, sweatshirt, long sleeve t-shirt, whatever it is. Anyway, as pointed out on the other video that I listed in the description of the last episode, and I've put it in this one again because it's useful, is that this whole unit, the upper race and the bearing itself, because the bearing is just going to go straight on there is no race at the bottom this time, at least I hope not, needs to equate to the measurement inside the tube, to that lip, because that's what it's going to sit up against once it all gets clamped down. And the reason it needs to be exactly the same is because this seal will go into the frame, and that needs to sit neatly on top of there. Wrong. So that's bottom of the stack, and that plus that plus that needs to equate to that inside lip measurement. So let's measure this. Well, without it being clamped down, it's at 17.8 mil. And if we take this over here, to measure inside here, what we end up with pretty flush, pretty square, 18.5. So again, we've actually got that same millimeter difference. So one way or another, as long as that millimeter washer that I modified goes in somewhere, I think we're going to be all right. That's right, right? So, seeing as this is too small to fit in the frame, I'm opting for option 1, throwing it across the bench on here. So this will go on here. This will go on here. That needs a little bit of grease. This needs a lot of grease. And then this has got to go in the oven to heat it up and everything else, because it goes that far. You can bash it down if you've got a pipe that's exactly the right size, but I'm going with Chris's option first, heating it up, freezing this lot. Well, not this lot. Freezing the yoke, and hopefully that'll work, because he says it will just drop on. And we like Chris, we trust him, so we'll see what happens. So just remember the sequence, and then this boy goes into the frame, which will end up sitting on that. Okay. So don't get confused. What you're looking at now is the old Honda race, which I used to nestle in the new adaptive one. So by tapping this gently, I have nudged the new race, the All Balls Racing adaptive race, into the yoke frame, which I put in the freezer beforehand, so that it was as easy as possible to get in. And of course now I can't get the Honda one out, but that'll be easy, because if you look down there, I just need to tap that out at the bottom, so that'll be easy. So that's one job done. And I have to tell you, I watched those 3 videos that I've linked in the description numerous times before starting any of this, just to make sure I was doing everything according to plan and advice. Alrighty, let's do some cooking. So we have the yolk in the freezer. Yes, very cold. Minus 1 degrees Fahrenheit, I guess. And now we want to do the baking, and we want it at 450, according to Chris. And let's start that puppy up, and we have it ready on a suitably round mat. And when it goes ping ping, apparently that'll be good to go. Top shelf, higher heat. Oven glove out the ready. Right, Chris said when it reaches 450 it'll be warm enough, so let's go. I don't know if I can film this. Step 1, get the yolk out of the freezer. Cold. Okay. Quick, quick, quick. Step 2. Get the bearing out of the oven. No gloves at this point. Yeah, actually that's hot. Let's try again with glove. Okay. Shit, should have put these on first. Okay, 1 mil. 1 mil washer going on. Greased up doofer going on. Okay, here we go, Chris. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Wow, he's not wrong. How cool is that? Just slipped on. Did you see that? It was that quick. Alright, well, we'll just let everything come back to temperature. Very impressive. Easy way to put a bearing on. Oh, I have to say, I had my doubts about the Fanny Craddock approach to installing a new roller bearing on the thing. Yeah, but it worked. How about that? Yeah. One for ice cream. Well, that seems to be nestling in nicely, and I'm hoping I didn't need to, hoping I did need to put that 1mm thing in there, because that's looking tight. Yeah. Oh well, we shall see. So, same exercise on the top, measuring the whole stack, including the seal. 16.7 now, it was 6. And measuring to the inside lip of that other race, effectively. 9, really? Now that makes sense. Let's try again. Yeah, 9.3. So I measured the race itself, and that's exactly the same, the 9mm. And I remeasured the whole stack, and that's 15.9, not 16, whatever. So at this point, I think we've got a problem. A 6mm problem. I'm not sure how we resolve that with washers. Because if it was 6mm the other way, you could pack it out with washers, but it's not. It's 6mm the wrong way. So I'm right? So we're still measuring, yes, and I just measured the amount of thread that pokes out above the top, bearing in mind that the new race should sit flush to that top. So it's 6mm, and that's all we got to play with, and you know, it's not enough. So I'm beginning to wonder whether I should have put that 1mm spacer on or not. That's following instructions from these guys that say measure everything. This is disappointing at this stage, because it's not a question of just putting more thread on, because as you can see it tapers off to a smaller diameter. I'm sure there's a solution, but at this point I'm kind of despondent about the whole thing. And talking of adaptations, etc., and the oil tank, which obviously is a popular delete item, because it's big and nasty, and in that V of the frame that everyone likes to be completely clear of everything for whatever reason, and I'm beginning to wonder why I even did that on the Suzuki. because it's a pain in the arse to clear it of everything for no real good reason apart from aesthetics. So yeah, there's a lot of bikes out there, CB750s, CB550s, whatever, that the single overhead cams that have been converted, and there is a, what's it called, something, I think, conversion from the Netherlands, and 450 euros. It's quite expensive, but it actually puts a sump underneath the oil pan. The additional problem with that is potentially hot oil, so you could put in an oil radiator, which we did in the race car, and that in itself would potentially act as a reservoir. Honestly, you could just do that, but then you got the question of how to measure the oil level. So yeah, there's a number of solutions. There's this side tank built by I forget what they're called now. Anyway, they built this bike and they sell this unit, and it's all right, but it's still there. The alternative is to put it under the seat with this totally custom build, which I particularly like, but I mean, that's a lot of effort. And actually you can get that too, and that's another 450 bucks. So there's a lot of money for an oil tank. So at this point on that, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. I know you're more interested in the front forks at this point, and I'm digressing, but I'm just trying to tell you that all this stuff is very complicated, and all these adaptation kits out there are not as simple as they seem, so beware, buyers. Well, I'm pressing on regardless with the top race. So there's the ball bearings itself. The race is in the freezer, ready to drop into the frame, and it will sit perfectly flush with what's already there as we've measured. This, I'm pretty confident, needs further tightening down, so the heating cooling thing kind of did its job to some degree, but not the whole way. That shouldn't be wobbling around like that. So we're going to need something to push this bearing all the way down, which will give us another millimetre hopefully up here. Yes, and we need it. Hence my optimism in the face of adversity, because today's been a bit of a crap day on the Stratos front. So tune in to episode, I don't know, 11, whatever, on that to find out all about that. And we are building a contraption, yes, with some of that, yeah. Various size washers to give it some strength. And here's what we're going to do with that. So Chris and I test fitted this, and what we're going to do is pack up some more washers underneath that, and we're going to ignore this completely and just connect it with the top on the top triple tree. So we need to get that off, and we need another bottom seal. Yeah, so Chris has gone away with the yoke to get that bottom bearing off again, but his theory is that we pack the bottom end because that was fouling, so we weren't getting enough clearance on the bottom of the frame here. So he's going to pack that with one of those spacers that All Balls Racing supplied, and then we're going to abandon these altogether and just tie it down with the main nut. That buddy, there, yeah. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. He seems to think it's a good idea, so who am I to argue? Okay, here we go again. I know, I was waiting for something else, but I got carried away with my blue paint, and I took these little carburetor covers off and painted them up. I think they look much better than dirty old matte black. So I bought this because I thought it would be slightly environmentally friendly or whatever, not acidic. Well, acidic in terms of, citrus acid. Anyway, it doesn't seem to be working very well. Disappointing. I know it looks like it might be working quite well, but really it was kind of in that state before I started. Anyway, it says leave it up to 24 hours, so let's try that. I bought it because I'm assuming I'm going to need to repaint the back wheel. And, yeah, I don't want to be sanding all the spokes. This back wheel has been horribly painted, as you can see. So, yeah, I wanted to kind of strip it of the paint and start from scratch. I don't know what's going to happen, honestly. We'll see. Anyway, what's he doing with the front forks? Well, I beg its pardon. Just 30 minutes later, it's doing its job nicely. Go Citrus. Well, there you go. Stripped and good as new, except for the dents, which I need to do something about, right? I'm literally bashing this out with a hammer, and it's kind of working. At this point, I've resprayed that bit, and I've wiped it off with acetate, the paint. And whether I do that or not on the Honda, I don't know. Well, that didn't come out bad, did it? Eh? I'm no panel beater, so yeah, it's not perfect. But yeah, I like the black and the silver and the, that bit. Fresh out the freezer. Yes. Washers. Seal. And very hot bearing. Still not going down fully. Still don't go down fully. Well, that should have dropped on easier than it did last time, and it didn't, despite this being frozen and that being cooked to 450 degrees centigrade. Fahrenheit. Yeah, so that didn't work. And while we're cooking, yes, what's this? It's a pepper pot. But look at that. It's a Perspex tube. I foresee some crazy lights in the future. I haven't quite got my head around what that's going to look like yet. But ignoring the metallic bottom piece, if you imagine that Perspex fitting that light perfectly, yeah, same circumference, that might work. The light itself would obviously have to be inboard somewhere ridiculous. For it to shine through that entire length. Obviously that's probably a little bit too long, but yes, food for thought while we're on the cooking theme. So despite my cooking not being up to scratch, I'm just going to try and fit this how I think we're going to fit it, and I might even use the original Honda. I've cleaned it up a bit. Obviously if I'm going to use it, I'll clean it up some more, but the original kind of seal, it kind of fits. Just needs a little bit of finagling, and that would fit. Yeah. So that would go on there, and then the tree will come up through the middle, and then everyone's come to see what I'm doing. Yeah, I know. So this is Chris's theory, and bear in mind that this will sneak up a little bit higher because that bearing is not down as far as it should go. So the theory up the top here is that obviously that inner thread, which those, what are they called? Spanner nuts or something? I don't know. Anyway, those should fit on. So, you know, we're inches short of the target, let alone millimeters. We could always shave a bit off the frame, I suppose. Anyway, here's the theory. That first drop the bearing in, obviously. Then some kind of dust seal. Well, actually, I'm favouring the Honda one now because that would sit perfectly. And, of course, it covers the original Honda frame. So I'm favouring that idea. And then we simply slap on the top yoke, which there's minimal clearance on now because that bearing needs to go lower, and then just screw it down with that nut. That's the theory. I don't know if it's a good theory or not, because having put these washers on, we've got even less height than we had before. My alternative theory was to actually cut the shaft and weld in an additional piece, which is still an option. I just don't know. I really don't. I am heartened by the fact that Chris thinks it will be okay, and he doesn't like the idea of cutting and shutting the shaft because potentially it weakens the whole structure, which I fully understand. And at this point, I think time's dragging on a little. So we should probably call it a day for this episode. We've come a long way with this fork swap, and so please do tune in next time to see the result of our ramblings and findings and experimentation. So thanks for watching, and yes, if you haven't already, do subscribe. I think it's down here, it might be down there, I don't know. Anyway, let's do this again and encourage others to watch my lunacy.